Welcome back, YouTube fans. This time I'm reviewing a little blast from the past, but my first two morphers that I ever bought myself when I was a kid. This is the Chrono Morpher from Power Rangers Time Force, and my personal favorite, the Quantum Morpher from Power Rangers Time Force as well, but this one is used by their 6th Ranger, the Quantum Ranger. I first bought this one because, honestly, the Quantum Ranger was one of the cooler ones, called Time Fire in the Japanese series. He used tech that was, well, it was the basis of the Chronomorphers and the stuff that the ones that would be used for the Time Force Rangers would. Basically, he used an earlier generation of them, but they were more powerful because they were meant to be used by a single person, not a whole team. He also had control of his own Megazord, the Q-Rex, which takes inspiration from, of course, a T-Rex, plus it turns into a warrior robot. Kind of reminds me of the original Megazord in many ways. Anyway, but let's get to the morphers. Now, the Quantum Morpher is the one with the most features, so we're going to use this one first since I don't have a ton of batteries to spare right at the moment. Anyway, flip it on. Sorry, hold on, let's try that again. It'll do that sound, and every so often it'll let out a beep. But it also has the little lights that flash and go in a clockwise pattern. When it gets here, it does a beep each time. Very much like it's counting down to something. Now, there's the morph. That's the alert sound. And then the communication. Now, this was standard for most of the early morphers. They would have a morph, a communication sound, and sometimes other functions. But pretty much that's all this one did. Now, one of the things that is always a good thing is the battery compartment's on the bottom, but the wrist strap is connected through the battery compartment plate like this. So it's really easy to pop it open, take the batteries out, without having to readjust the strap every single time you want to take these batteries out. And if you're like me and you learned very early on that you should not leave batteries in stuff because they leak constantly, then you know that that's a good idea. Trust me, if you're ever storing toys like this, always take the batteries out. Especially because sometimes you'll forget and you'll get corrosion. Even if it's one of your favorites, you don't want to leave them in. Now, the Quantum Ranger one had a few more functions. A big downside for me was there was no battleizer sound, because one of the things they pushed really hard in the American series, especially after this, was battleizers. And this one functioned as the battleizer for the Quantum Ranger, but it had no sound effect. We've got the communication. Oh, sorry. Forgot to turn it on. That's odd. Ah, there we go. Loose connection. But you got that sound. It happens every couple of seconds. It's the one downside of this one is that every couple of seconds it'll do that annoying little beep sound. But you have communication. Which is more like an alert to me. The Q-Rex summon. The morph. And this one, which is sort of a summoning command, I guess. But as you can see, it counts up to 10, then goes back down to 0 again. It's a pretty good morpher for what it is. Now, this was during the period where Bandai was just taking the Japanese molds, copying them, and using them to create their own toys. Instead, later they started using original molds, which in many ways I feel were inferior to the Japanese ones. Especially when you get into Power Rangers Mega Force and the Super Mega Morphers, or whatever they were called, based off the Gokaiger Mobirates. These ones are basically one-to-one, pretty much the same as the Japanese. They may have some different sound effects, but otherwise they're pretty good. So if you're an American collector of Sentai stuff, these are good substitutes and can sometimes be a lot cheaper than going for the Japanese ones. That's just my recommendation, though. If you're just a collector of Power Rangers stuff, or just you like Henshin devices and morphers, the Quantum Morpher is the better of the two. There was technically a third one, which was the badge from the series, but it was not really a morpher, and it just lit up and made sounds, and the little triangle symbol of Time Force would pop open. It wasn't very impressive, and I never got it because, well, it wasn't a real morpher, and it wasn't necessary for my collection. Overall, it's a good piece, and I recommend getting this if you are of a mind to collect these. But please like, subscribe, and comment below, and share this video with your friends. And you can follow me on Twitter if you want to give me some feedback or just chat about stuff. And I'll see you all next time. Ciao!